Support for this show is brought to you by novel Till the Bitter Endemic. What if there was a happy ending to a pandemic? Perhaps an unexpected love story. After Daisy gets thrust into mandatory quarantine for an infection she can't explain, it's up to her to unravel the truth as to what's behind it and what she can ultimately do to escape it. But she can't do this alone, and that's where she finds not only herself, but a very special person that opens their heart for the betterment of their survival. Find out how in Till the Bitter Endemic. Available now on Amazon in all major formats. Greetings and salutations, all you beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Art of the Beholder, a show dedicated to all things eclectic in the world of art. I'm your host, Philip, and today we're going to be talking about art in music, focusing on a well-ish known yet niche artist. Another you didn't know how well you know them type. It's, my favorite, as it goes all the way back to the Steely Dan era of our show, and specifically what I consider to be a particular artist's greatest album. This band is the nerd alt duo They Might Be Giants, and the album in question is their 1990 release, Flood. And to hash things out, we are, for the first time ever, joined by a very special guest, possibly the most special of them all, Mr. Novo Day.
Surprise! It's Freaky Friday Tuesday. Guys, today is the day I get to be the passenger seat princess to talk shop.
Easy street for you, my man.
And I gotta say, Philip, we have like a really nice green room for our guests.
Yeah, you've never got to see it, and I've been blown
this
away.
It's really nice.
Why do you think I never hosted till now?
I got all the snacks. I filled my pockets. I'm snacked up. I'm sugar highed. I'm ready to go. I got to bleep that out now.
Yeah. Haha. See, that's what it's like when you're the guest. Now you get to know all of my pain. No,
I don't get to. Can I make a special request as the guest?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't get to be the guest much, and I'm very excited. So could we do the introduction again? Because I had some other cold open ideas. So could you introduce me like one more time and maybe two more times?
Yeah, I get the impression that you've been sitting on this, so
I've been brewing. I've been working. I want to workshop some stuff on air.
You are clearly excited, and I'm going to take that and run with it. And
please.
To hash things out, we are, for the first time ever, joined by a very special guest, Mr. Novo Day.
I'm Novo Day Man, here on the other side, Novo Day Man. Guys, oh my God, I'm so excited to be the guest today to talk shop on They Might Be Giants, 1990s, Flood, us music nerds talking about other clearly music
nerds in music.
Oh my God. Okay, so that was number 2. Okay, I'm gonna pick the best one in post, and I'm gonna edit.
You think that?
I'm gonna copy, I'm gonna paste, and then I'm gonna make it seem seamless for the audience. So let's do one more.
Interns, did you listen to all that? Supposedly this is all gonna happen in post, so you better get it right.
Editors, you got some work to do. So marker.
He's literally telling you what to do.
Marker
right now.
Here.
And I forget what that thing is. Slate.
Slate. There we go. And action.
Well, to hash things out, we are, for the first time ever, joined by the most specialist of guests. He might be Novo Day.
Philip, thank you so much for having me as your guest. And I am so ready to talk shop today. So ready, in fact, that yes. Can you see it? I have my prosthetic forehead on
your
my real head. Yes.
Because I thought I walked past the green room and I could have sworn I saw you winding a piece of string around a rock.
Indeed. I don't want to be Mr. Horrible on this show. I want to be Mr. Amazing. So let's do the thing. Tell the good people why. Why are we talking about Flood today?
Well, basically this album legitimately came out at the precipice of the 90s. I mean, granted, it came out... It was recorded late in 89. So technically, not recorded in the 90s, but still released almost first thing. It was January of 1990. So this was heading off right ahead of basically the very alt-heavy period in American art. Just kind of looking around at the scene, They Might Be Giants really did their part in setting the tone of that era, in my opinion. And then the fact that they were only 2 albums in, this was their 3rd. And so they're still experimenting too, and went on to do so much more. So this was wound up being the beginning of what has become a nearly 40-year career. And so, like, this album, and obviously the band that made the album, this album is highly considered the quintessential They Might Be Giants album. And so to me, with them being such a niche, like 90s alt thing, I figured that really just stands as its own statement to 90s art. And it's also a fantastic lesson on memorable songwriting.
And oh my God, what a flood it is. It is everything. It is every genre and every scale and time signature. There's like
they've
everything in
touched
this album.
so many pies. I think they got prosthetic
God, yes.
fingers so they could stick those fingers in extra pies, because they did not stop. Like, I'm sure there were, and there's always B-sides and extras, you know what I mean? And this is just what we got
Totally.
out of it. So
Yeah.
you really have to wonder. And then also, looking back, of course, hindsight, the fact that they have like over 20 albums, there's no way there wasn't extra material. These guys never stop writing music, seemingly. So yeah, this one still stands out to everybody, critics, fans. This is the They Might Be Giants album. Before we dive too much further in and just keep gushing, why don't we get a little context? I bet you thought I was going to say background, but this is my show. I was going to say it.
It's
You're the one
Philip's
doing all the
show.
cursing.
He gets to do it. Well, you usually do the cursing, so
I know.
I gotta do the heavy lifting
I'm
there,
just
my
game
man.
recognized game, dude. I'm just saying.
Game
recognized. Hey, actually, before we do the context, fun fact, everybody.
Yes, sir.
This was kind of the original pitch for the show. Actually, I was going to host an episode about Weird Al, but Novo was like, how about we do a good show? And then he ran it for about 4 years before we compromised and we did this episode.
Well, let's as T-Book likes to say, let's pull back the curtain. Let's let the people peek inside. So guys, the original host for the show was Philip. I've just been keeping his seat warm for 3-4 years now, and you've done a
fantastic job.
Thank you. We've done a lot of soul searching. We have done a lot of show pitches that where Weird Al has come and gone a few times, and it only took us 4 years to compromise on 1990s flood.
And again, like, and to be fair, you know, I know it's a hard gig, right? Like I'm already feeling it this episode. So
you get nervous?
It took a, well, I'm just saying it, like, you did it after the almost 4 years. You've finally gotten it to where I was kind of wanting the show to be when I first thought it up.
I'm finally getting a little good. I
went
from a novice to a beginner.
From good to great. And so now that the show is at the level that I was ready for when I pitched it, that's why we're doing this episode.
He was already at great to amazing, and we needed the show to really, get in line.
Podcast experience.
We wanted to make sure that the show was able to grow up to where Philip already was, instead of the opposite. So I understand why it took a few years. So it had to grow its beard, as they say. Now, you were saying something about context.
I promised the people some context. Yes. They Might Be Giants is an award-winning American band, self-described as both geek rock and, interestingly, a children's band. They have released 23 albums, as well as written songs across multiple mediums. The band was formed in 1982 in New York, but interestingly, the main duo originally met in grade school back in Lincoln, Massachusetts. The fact that they bumped back into each other, moving into the same apartment building on the same day. Think about that. I mean, granted, they probably would have found each other later too. I mean, how long can you live in the same building without seeing certain people and also just being like, holy crap, you're my friend? But they didn't plan that. So I do love that the stars aligned and had them reunite and be like, it's time, gentlemen. So these two gentlemen, the main duo is founders John Flansburgh and John Linnell. And once they were able to, it was not technically just a duo anymore. They started with a drum machine. It was just 2 men, a drum machine, and a dream. And eventually the Johns hired backing band members. So there was like basically mid-90s when they again, like after Flood really just made waves and people were like, we want to see this band. They got real people and had a certain backing band for a while. And then as far as I recall from my research, they have had the same backing band for like last 20 years or something.
They're on tour right now. You know, they're going to be Atlanta in October, my good man. You should go see them.
It's almost like this album was timed perfectly. Yeah, I need to. So
they're huge fans of the show, of course,
obviously. And just wait till they hear this, John, and you know which one I was addressing in which order, because you guys know me. Of
course,
John, you know me.
John and John, they know where I'm coming from too. Guys, you want to be on the show?
See you in October.
Reach out to us. We'd love to talk shop. But first,
they have won Grammys for their studio albums. They won an Outer Critics Circle Award for their work on the SpongeBob SquarePants musical. I love that is a sentence that has entered my life.
You're welcome, audience.
And then, weirdly enough, I didn't know that I knew them until I knew who they were, moment for everybody is that they did Boss of Me for Malcolm in the Middle. Best song written for visual media, another Grammy of theirs. So multi-Grammy awards, but yeah, that You're Not the Boss of Me Now for Malcolm in the Middle. I mean, everybody knows that.
How old do you feel now?
So yeah, there's clearly something to They Might Be Giants, and we're going to dive into that after a little word from our sponsor.
We'll be right back.
The best way to say thank you and to support us is by donating to the cause. In doing so, you'll be able to help us help fellow artists, creatives, and colleagues, promoting their work, the community as a whole, and why we got into this line of work to begin with, to not only make art, but also shine a light on our peers and the gems of the world. For all the hidden ones and the not so hidden that make life worth living, because if we can make things even a little bit better, it'll all be worth it. But we can't do this without you. So please, donate today. And remember, even a little goes a long way to build new bridges, new worlds, and new opportunities. Link and details on how can be found in the show notes below. Because together, we can do anything. And we're back.
Thanks for
sharing
world.
Your green room snacks with me during that break.
And that was really Philip Church. That was more Philip Church with a little bit of ad music. And now we're back to Conquer the World. So let's tell the good people, let's give them the juicy middle. Juicy. You did this like on our Scavengers Reign episode. You said, I said before I did the sponsor break, you know, I always say, you know, before we talk about the juicy middle, we're going to take a little break here from our sponsors, and you go juicy. And so I left that, as part of the bridge to all of the ads and in the outro. So like between the ads, it was just like,
I don't remember hearing it in the outro. I probably gave up by then.
Juicy. And then at the end it was credits, and then it was,
oh my God, let's add that to the soundboard.
Yeah.
Interns.
It should just be a regular thing.
Yeah.
Juicy.
Soundboards, baby. That's what they're for. We got another one. Yeah, there's a ton of meat to dive into here, and I'm gonna maybe come at you at a sort of a weird angle here. So just work with me, Novo.
Hey, it's your show, baby.
We're gonna discuss the elephant in the room. Istanbul, not Constantinople.
I love this song.
It's a great song. It is possibly their best known in a weird way. It was one of the singles from the album, which again, we'll return to that fun factlet in a minute, but it's not an original song of theirs.
It's not original.
They're not usually a cover artist. As we mentioned, they have multiple albums of their own. They create their own stuff all the time. Weirdly enough, they just were like, let's have fun. And another weird way that I feel like it's fitting, because that song is from like the 50s.
Yeah.
And so there's about a 40-year gap of when that song existed and probably had its fun little heyday. And they were just like, you know, it was fun. Let's do that one Istanbul song again. And here we are about, 30-something years later, yet another handful of decades. So it's like this song has a fun resurgence every few decades. So I look forward to celebrating Istanbul, not Constantinople, again around 20, maybe 50 or 60. But yeah, the song was written in 1953 by a Canadian singing quartet called the Four Lads, with lyrics by an Irish songwriter, Jimmy Kennedy. But yeah, their upbeat, like hilarious take on it was super fun. And then there's the fact that it also went with a like music video on the Tiny Toon Adventures show.
Oh man, yes.
It
made me feel like a kid again. Yes.
And then it also, speaking of what you would think might have been a single, but was just, it's the fact that it's so memorable thanks to Tiny Toons, is another very famous song from that album was Particle Man. So
Particle
those two
Man.
got music videos, which I think helped give them a little more, of course, coverage, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
exposure. And so it's just interesting, like what you never know what your big thing is going to be. And here we are as like grown adults. I have a child, and I'm talking about the fact that like I still remember the music videos to these two songs from just like a goofy album from 1990.
I'm so glad you brought up Istanbul, because when I learned it was a cover, Philip, I wish you could be in the room with me. I was so sad. I really, for some reason, because They Might Be Giants, I feel like they
It's
really
iconic
made
of
it.
theirs.
Right. They really made it their own. I wanted so badly for it to be an original piece by these two guys.
Yeah.
And when I realized that, I was like, oh man. But it is, that's the beauty of the cover is it can become another artist's baby in a way, like a reincarnation of ideas, and it can be something new, and it can be theirs still. So I'm still so happy we got this
at its
incarnation.
At its core, it's like, okay, obviously same lyrics, same like melody to an extent, but I mean, again, a quartet. This was people singing.
Did you hear the original? Have you heard the original? It's a
I'll be
lot
completely
slower.
honest. I did not.
I listened to it, so for
I
you
don't
good
want
people,
to.
well, for you good people that haven't either, it's a little slower. Like you can hear They Might Be Giants' version in it. It's a little slower. It's not as whimsical, with the Devil Went Down to Georgia,
The instrumentation, the intro, like the violin and
the
fiddle, whatever.
Fiddle. There we go. Yeah, the fiddle, the bridging fiddle that just like really connects the A section. The beginning and the end, and but it is the DNA is there, but They Might Be Giants truly made it their own.
Yeah, so that will always, that is going to be probably one of their weirdly biggest claims to fame, is that introduced tons of people to They Might Be Giants. So when I even mentioned They Might Be Giants, that might be what however many listeners and just general people in life, their brain's going to go back to those fun music videos. And again, it's just kind of fun because it's a bit of a silly song, right? And just, you're meeting a girl in Constantinople, she'll be waiting in Istanbul.
All of them are silly, but there's a charming element to this whole album.
There is, and interestingly, that takes me into my next point, which is that, it's 1990.
Yeah.
And
it's a bridge in and of itself that year. We went from a little new wave to the
Novo,
1990s.
You're going to love where I'm about to take this.
Oh, take me on a ride.
Is it silly? Yes. These guys are contemporaries, and technically, having released albums a little later than him, kind of could have been fans of Weird Al Yankovic, who is parody.
It's happening.
Yeah, I'm doing it. Yeah, you knew it. 4 years I've been waiting. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so Weird Al is known for being parody, right? He literally takes known songs and writes silly alternate versions. And then, of course, he has his own handful of originals that are also usually very silly. I don't think he's done like a serious song in his whole life, and we wouldn't have it any other way. But so when you're walking that fine line, it must have been interesting for people like the Johns to also kind of operate in sort of the same space and yet be very distinguished, because it's not parody. There are little light bulbs of like beautiful lyrics and good writing all throughout this album and other songs of theirs just from their entire thing. But obviously we're focusing on Flood. So I do kind of wonder what it might have been like being that contemporary and again, like not wanting to be overshadowed by what was essentially like the funny songwriter for decades. Again, that was like, it kind of almost might have been annoying because not all of their songs are trying to be super silly. Again, are they surreal and weird? Yes, but that doesn't always mean silly. So they walk that line of having like a bit of humor, having a comedic aspect and not taking yourself too seriously. But again, it's not parody. And again, the musicality is excellent. So
it's astounding.
Yeah. So speaking of the musicality in this one, they probably had like a bigger budget than before because this was their first one with a new label. Their first two albums had garnered the attention of Elektra Records. So they signed with them. And the opening track to the album is literally says like, it's our brand new album for 1990. and it's this chorus of singers. It's not just the Johns, and it's not just people
Right.
on keyboards or a drum machine. This is, sounds like multiple people singing. So even that's like, you got to pay for that. And so I like the fact that they kind of come in with a new take, like right off the bat, and also did it in what has become signature style, both within this album and within their career, of just short songs. Right? It's 45 seconds, I believe the opening track was like super short.
Absolutely. Yes. Everything this album is when you're going on your spiel, comparing them to Weird Al, and talking about the essence of the music, it's definitely adult oriented, but it's written as if the pieces are written as if they were made for children. Like there's so much whimsical, song structure. They're very short, to your point, and but like something like Lucky Ball and Chain, Dead, Your Racist Friend, for God's sakes. I mean, these are not for children when you actually dig deep.
Yeah. Some of this stuff weirdly is not. So like I said, they really found that niche. And I think that's why this album stood out so much and happens to be their only platinum best-selling album. That Elektra nailed it. Elektra saw this diamond in the rough and said, come on in, guys, we got you. You're in New York, like, let's do this. So and interestingly, a lot of the budget for this album was apparently spent, like 2/3 of it, supposedly, was spent on the production of 4 songs, and some of them are the ones you just mentioned. So Your Racist Friend is one of them. That's a banger. That song slaps. We already talked about Istanbul briefly.
Yeah.
The Flood track leads into their first real song, which again is one of the singles as well, which is called Birdhouse in Your Soul. And that is also one of their most memorable songs to this day. And it's just a song about kindness. It's just a song about making space inside yourself. It's funny, like that's a current thing people say, like, oh, I'm making space for this. It's so funny that like this metaphor, it's called build a birdhouse in your soul. And to me, that is making space for kindness and empathy and just like being vulnerable. And so you like listen to the lyrics, and he's talking about like, like I respect my elders. I couldn't do what they did. Like it's just a very weird bearing of his soul, thanks to this like birdhouse in it. So that song, Your Racist Friend, Istanbul, and then another one, which is we also kind of cited a little bit. We Want to Rock. Such a strange
because of the prosthetic
song.
foreheads.
But so 2 producers, Clive Langer and Alan Winstanley, both from England, English producers, produced those 4 songs, and that took up a large chunk of the budget. And interestingly, my theory, like I've yet to find anything, but it at least was proven. I didn't see like which tracks specifically and how many musicians, but there were a lot more live musicians on this too. A lot of the horns, interestingly, in this were real, like horn parts. So it's like singing the chorus in the first one and some of the other backing vocals, and then a lot of the horn parts are real, and then so much of the rest of it is just MIDI. And that which guides me to my next point, luckily, which is that MIDI is basically just digital. It's all the hilarious old internet music that we all remember when the internet was brand new and you had to hear like it almost sounds just like that, like the Doom soundtrack.
Doom?
Exactly.
Was that Doom? Oh
It
my
was Doom.
God.
It was Doom.
I could recognize that immediately.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ.
But I did that to conjure the soundscape of what MIDI is, and the fact that that's you telling a keyboard, you're a trumpet now you're a drum, now you're like a bongo, now you're again like whatever I want. So these guys, again, they jammed out on with a drum machine doing the drums, and it's just them doing a whole bunch of digital instrumentation with the except of brass, strings, and the vocalists, which I think is really cool. That again, like the 2 of them probably they'd already been doing this for a while. They'd been practicing. So I like that they upped their game. I like that they looked at this as like an opportunity.
Oh, I absolutely love the instrumentation on this album. Yeah, it can be silly and eccentric and, these fun weirdos writing these fun songs. When you do what we do, deep dives into deep cuts, and you see that, oh my God, this is very complex. These harmonies are so rich.
These guys know their music theory.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes. I mean, you can really hear. I mean, Linnell really writes in scales. You could tell how he likes to write, and a lot of it is majors, because that's where that whimsy comes in, and that fun silliness. And they were, as much as I was trying to make a point that, this music, though, yeah, lyrically silly or fun or eccentric and shorter, though arranged and with complex melodies and harmonies and rhythms, and that though they have mature subject matter, but the song structure is written as if for children, I have to say that they were destined to write children's albums. My God. Like, I'm so glad that they eventually just kind of ventured into this world where they were destined to be, because we see the blueprint in a lot of what they wanted to write, and the instrumentation, and just having fun and being creative and innovative, and just clearly having a love for this craft, and wanting it to be family friendly, and that's why I was so happy to do this show today, because guys, we don't have to talk about mopey Radiohead all the time. We can be family friendly too.
Yeah, we don't have to try to bring you a verbal version of Bekchinsky's paintings all the time. It doesn't need to be horror. I love horror. You guys know
We
this.
love that.
I love
Yeah,
it.
we love it.
But yeah, it's so interesting.
It's a
knowing
flood.
how these dudes.
I get why they
It
named
is,
it.
and I like
it's a flood.
It's like they're bringing their love of the weird, random, just like eclectic tastes of theirs. You can tell
stream of consciousness.
They're bringing
to
you
lyrics.
their childhoods. It's like they're getting their inner child out. It's almost like music was their like therapy. Again, I'm not saying they're like messed up like dudes.
Whistling in the Dark is a good example.
Yeah, there's some weird
it's
stuff.
Truly a children's song there.
Yeah, sure.
Like be yourself.
Be what you like.
Be like yourself.
And then there's also the weird aspect of a woman came up to me and said, "I'd like to poison your mind." It's just so weird. So yeah, he's decided he'd whistle in the dark. But speaking of Linnell's songwriting tactics, it's once again, like, I don't know if these dudes studied it. I don't recall them. I think they went to like maybe a little bit of music school, but just when you're this talented, sometimes these things are innate. Obviously, people knew about music before music theory existed. It was
like Mozart.
It was the study of music that led to music theory, of realizing that's why this chord progression makes me feel happy. That's why this one makes me feel sad. At its most basic and ridiculous nutshell, that's music theory. Is just why
majors and minors.
Yeah, majors, minors. Why scales make you feel and want to say certain things, tempos, what those do to you, etc. And these guys are just innate songwriters with so much music theory brimming out of them. And Linnell, particularly, he writes his melodies first. It's always interesting to me which singer-songwriters do you do words first? Do you do lyrics or the melodies first? Do you change it up across albums? And Linnell pretty much always does melodies first and works the lyrics in later. And once you know that, it makes so much of the album so much more like just be so much clearer about why they said things that way. This idiosyncratic paces and deliveries of things about, like, especially like in the song like Hot Cha, where it's one of the most monotone songs they have as far as like
but another genre change. There's so many. There's
a genre change.
Yeah, like there's rockabilly.
Yeah, there's like drunken barstool, like love drunk guy.
Sea shanties. Yep. There we go. I was like, what?
And again, another thing that's so unique about their approach that seemingly never changed, but especially on this album, is how short the songs are. Again, it's for the short attention spans. It's either for grown adults with ADHD like me, or for children, which I used to be. So,
or both. That's why it's family friendly.
I feel like both, weirdly enough. Yeah. But yeah, of the 19,
we are kids at heart.
That is true. I mean that in the nicest way to myself. There are 19 tracks. The two longest tracks are a very normal song length of about 3 minutes and 25 seconds, 26 seconds. And then another two tracks aren't even a minute long, which it's like that balances those out. And then the remaining 15 tracks are anywhere between a minute and 25 seconds and 2 minutes and 45 seconds. I mean, this is like, weirdly enough, it's like the Misfits. It's like punk. That's what's so funny about the song length. Is like people usually just play their asses off really quickly, belt out some weird lyrics, and like it's because they're playing as fast as possible that the song is only a minute and a half long. These dudes they just know that I'm done. This is my whole song. I'm finished, but I have 19 of them. So that I feel like that's another thing that lends to its memorability is you don't have that much to remember for any given song.
Absolutely. No, I when I look at the track listing, I I think I want to say minimum wage.
Yeah.
Whap.
Minimum wage.
Wage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a real. They didn't do it with a whip. But fun fact: they did that with. They did that live in the studio with a towel and just like making something whoosh. So they made their own whoosh crack with two things and made their own version of a whip crack.
I feel like I've heard that sampled in a million things too. Like I think, to your point in the thesis
Oh, it's
statement.
like memeable. Again, they like predate the internet, and yet with like holding space or like memeing things to an extent. These dudes, again, like they were on it.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I loved reading the history of these two guys because they were one of the first to have a online market to buy their music. They were one of the first to actually sell their music in MP3 form. Like they're clearly ahead of their
nerds.
times. Well, yeah, they're ahead of their times, but it's like nerd chic. There's a charming essence to who They Might Be Giants are. And this album is such a quintessential example of that because I think so many, especially the critics at the time, thought they were just going to be this novelty act, like these like traveling, circus clowns
Yeah, just
kind of
let's sing you
thing.
some goofy songs. Hire me for your kid's birthday party.
Right. And then it's like 20 albums later and all these innovations and being the first to the party so many times. Like, what an FU to the critics of like, yeah, we have our own thing. And yeah, it may be family friendly, kid friendly. It can be very fun and silly. We don't have to be, mopey, serious songwriters all the time, but we're here to stay. Like, we're here to stay. We have a voice, and you're going to love us when we get to the other end.
Weirdly, another neat thing that I'd like that they sort of innovated was that for a while they had this thing where they would say it was dial a song. You would just call up and leave them an idea, and they would like make up a song for you. And then
they have whole albums dedicated to dial a song.
But they turned that also into a website. They were also early internet pioneers of just like, hey, don't call us. Landlines are old news. We have the internet now, guys. Go to dialasong.com. I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember hearing about it and being like, should I do it?
Yeah, and it's just the beauty of creativity and innovation and evolving with the times too. There's so many acts, and we're not going to name names. You know who they are, guys, where they're clearly kind of living in the past, living in their times. That they refuse. I mean, like, pour some sugar. No, it's not that one. You know who they are. Let's just say there's a lot of acts that like refuse to even be on like a Spotify, like streaming services. Like, if you want to buy our records, you have to buy them in a store. It has to be a CD or a vinyl, something like that, where it's like the market's going to change, the audience is going to change. There's nothing wrong with changing with them. That's why we have a podcast right now, so we could talk to you guys about this stuff, because the kids that are hearing this 40, 50 years from now, when they hear the new version of Istanbul, not Constantinople.
When I release my tribute to They Might Be Giants tribute to those dudes,
that they'll be listening to this podcast and be like, oh yeah, you remember when they were talking about They Might Be Giants who did that for the second cover? It's just part of how it's just part of how our art communities work, right? Yeah. It's ever changing, it's ever evolving. We're literally always standing on the shoulder of these kind of giants, no pun intended, and so are they, but evolving with how things change and finding your voice and having fun, and it's not even just about fun. I think for these guys, it's who they are. I think it's an innate identity. Like, I don't think they could write any other way. Like, this is how they write, this is how they create, and this is what we get, kind of a thing. Just like a Frank Zappa, like to your point, in some of our when we're talking backstage.
Another thing to sort of throw out, how like, again, they're forward thinkers. Interestingly, is like their name, They Might Be Giants, was not some kind of weird,
it was
like
Don Quixote.
Yeah, they're not like, we're gonna be huge. They weren't. It wasn't cocky. It was a literal direct reference to Don Quixote, and I like that a lot of their stuff is rife with references to other stuff too, which helps explain some of the seeming weirdness. That, again, once you do the deep dives like this, it starts to make a lot more sense, and it's kind of fun. And so that's part of why I kind of wanted to like take apart some of the lyrics of some of my more preferred songs. And if you have any of the lyrics that you particularly like had stand out to you, Novo, of
Oh.
course, as I asked you to do. Please,
Philip,
feel free to bring forward your examples at this time. But
you know what lyric my cold open had the lyrics. Like, that was the one lyric. Every time I listened to the album, I was like, everybody wants prosthetic foreheads on their real heads.
Yeah.
What a beautiful line. That is the best in my humble opinion. I know you probably have a lot better lines and lyrics, but in my opinion, that is the best line in the whole album.
I mean, fair enough. And that is from a particularly like weird and fun song. That is a good one. But yeah, some of the more like kind of poignant things where, like I said, it's like, again, it was never parody. It's definitely sometimes very surreal and silly, like flip that switch either way. And sometimes it is a Venn diagram in both. But like, I mean, I already talked about Birdhouse in Your Soul. I think that's just a really cute song. It was apparently about like a nightlight. I thought that was really fun. And then in the song Dead, which is, again, it's like a funeral procession.
I came back
like
as a bag of groceries, guys.
Well, yeah, that's so deep. No, I actually, I legitimately love the line, now it's over, I'm dead, and I haven't done anything that I want, or I'm still alive, and there's nothing I want to do.
Yeah, it's really smart.
I actually genuinely, that really smacked me in the mouth. Like the last 10 years ago, I listened to this as like an adult when I was just like, you know what I should listen to for the 80th time? And yeah, I was just like, wow, that's actually just a really dope line in what is a very droning song.
Right.
It's again, it's like a funeral procession. It's not too negative. It still is in a major key, but it's just the keyboard. It's just the piano and the two dudes harmonizing in their, again, dorky nasal voices that I love mimicking.
Ooh, can I make a note on that for a second?
Of course.
Because you know how I feel about some nasally voices. And I want to, for a second, put on our tinfoil hats, and I want to talk about a little musical conspiracy theory that I have about They Might Be Giants. Because when I was listening to things like Hearing Aid, track 12, and they said the line because, they could hit those notes perfectly and harmonize together quite well. And so I think some of the nasal, because usually, guys, you know Novo, I hate that with the fiery passion. And most of the time, it didn't bother me with these guys in this album, because I would say a little more than 50%, like 51% or more, they were really hitting the notes well, harmonizing well, and I know they could take it there. Sometimes I think this is the conspiracy theory. Sometimes I think they went the other way as an actual artistic choice, and not because they just sing that way like the Postal Service.
Yeah, I think it's a choice, and I think sometimes it was for the sake of harmonizing
Or
and kind of
Billy
sounding like each other, so you kind of don't know who might be singing at any given moment, and to an extent, like I think it's intentional as well. I do believe
good.
that.
Ooh, we're on. Ooh,
I like that. I like that in Lucky Ball and Chain. There's just a quick line of just, what's the sense in arguing when you're all alone? So I could shake my tiny fist and say it and swear I wasn't wrong, but what's the sense in arguing when you're all alone? Great nugget of truth, buddy. You're right. I also just love that. That's like again like a drunken bar stool, like a dude who can't quite get the story straight. Like that song cracks me up. Touched on some Dead. Your Racist Friend, the whole thing slaps, but it literally is just that.
And this is the most mature song, I think, in the whole album.
It's musically one of the best, and it's one of the longest. It's like this.
That's why they spent so much money on it.
Yeah, this one stands out clearly because it was well thought out and a great idea. And again, that trumpet solo slaps. I saved my F-bomb for that trumpet solo.
And bleep.
Yeah.
And someone keeps moving my chair. Like, I know it's not like, complicated lyrical structures, but just that melody of Mr. Horrible, Mr. Horrible. And we know people like that. Like, we know Mr. Horrible. Like, when he's talking about this particular person and why they have to keep moving.
Right.
You have to keep moving my chair. So I get it, stuff like that.
He gets so mad at me when I move his chair, and I don't think he realized that it was my 4-year joke.
He keeps blaming it on the interns. He's like, no, it was Ricky over there, and I'm like, I don't think it was. You're the only person in this room right
And
now.
yet you'd think all the notes saying, when's the Weird Al episode coming, taped to the chair would have been a dead giveaway.
I said
think-
after hours for the show. We're gonna do the show, Philip. It can't be a long form topical. There's rules to this.
Well, that's why I'm running this one.
That's true. That's true.
I like that. I genuinely, I have zero behind this theory, and I would love to dive into this with any person. Feel free to drop a comment. I think "We Want to Rock" is a weird statement on capitalism and consumerism and just fads. It might not be that deep, but that's how it feels to me.
And
they
if
want
they
dumb
want to
shit.
rock.
People just want to spend money on stuff, and they want what other people have.
I was real dumb with it, like superficial. Like I thought they just wanted to rock, like rock and roll. And then when I got
It's a rock. It's not "We want to rock."
Right. Well, but I thought that was a smart play on words.
It could have been. Very well could be.
Yeah.
Very well could be. Minimum wage. It merely slaps.
Yeah.
Simply because of the way that person belts out minimum wage. Yeah. That one's rad. And I really feel that in my soul because I worked for minimum wage for a long, long time.
Didn't we all? Jesus.
Another fun reference, Hot Cha, is a reference to a board game. It's a board game character. Apparently it's a horse from a board game character. I like Women and Men. That's like a fun...
That's the sea chanty.
Yeah,
I feel like we're on a ship with pirates.
Exactly. And then it just gets really upbeat. There's like an organ in the background. And again, it's literally about like people spreading goodness. So I really like the lyrics to Women and Men. Sapphire Bullets of Pure Love is a bit more... This is way left field. It's very like, I like the up and down, like the scalar with its sort of little reverb going. And the fact that this song is interestingly a tribute to another album that was named Sapphire Bullets of Pure Love. And once again, it's just, I feel like their eclectic music tastes left such impressions on them that this is like an homage, very direct to that album. They Might Be Giants is just hilarious.
I love that.
It's an oompa, like upbeat circus.
Their name to a title of their song.
They might be giants, boy. Yeah, that slaps. And then it leads into Road Movie to Berlin, which...
This is like their most mature songwriting, not most
it goes
mature
back
lyrics.
And forth between like feeling like a ballad and then this amazing Broadway, like, you can just see like the top hats come out and like the lights go up and like feet, you're kicking, you're practically like tap dancing.
I think that's where this album is crazy fun, is in the bridges, because sometimes they'll rock hard, like drill us in the head with stuff, and then sometimes it's crazy fiddles, like on Istanbul, crazy, just these crazy ideas and bridges and soloing that you don't see coming. It kind of slaps you in the face, but it strangely works in the body of the piece. And with them being so short, it's so easy to start this album again and just go through it over and over again too.
Listening to this album, knowing what we know now, both ourselves as well as what you've just learned from us, dear listeners, of how they went on prolifically and created so much music. This is quintessential. You get so much taste for their other stuff, and you start to understand how, of course they wrote a sort of rebellious, like a song about a teenager saying, "You're not the boss of me." Like there's so much hints about what's to come from them, from this big, just breakout album from 1990 with Flood. So there's fun stuff in each song, and again it just flies by. The next thing you know, you're 9-10 tracks deep, you're like, holy crap, this is just going.
It is front heavy too, where
it kind of is. I would say that.
We have Birdhouse in Your Soul, Istanbul, Particle Man, all within the first 7 tracks. Whereas I definitely like the second half. I feel like it ends on a great note. But man, that side 1 LP is pretty brilliant.
Because some of the songwriting in the second half, like Letterbox is actually a fantastically written song. That is also a very good example of the weird pacing of the lyrics that I mentioned earlier, where they wrote all the music first and then shoehorned in so many words going so fast.
But the vocal melodies work though so well too.
Yeah, I like that there's like harmony the whole time.
Like what they chose to actually put there was very thoughtful, alongside the musical instrumentation foundation that they created first.
So just to touch on the lyrics, just to give you a bit more of an idea to really, if in case you weren't convinced yet, to just really push you into giving this 43-minute, 24-second album the chance that it deserves.
But 19 track.
Yeah, 19 tracks. Again, their legacy goes on to this day. I there's no way that they didn't.
They're on tour right now, guys.
I think they're still going. People still love them. Interestingly enough, those 23 albums that I mentioned, I believe are all legitimately attributed to Maine They Might Be Giants. They rebranded a little bit when they did actual kids albums. They have They Might Be Giants for Kids as a separate artist, even on Spotify, so that you don't accidentally hear some of their quote unquote like more adult mature material.
Your racist friends kind
of
songs.
Yeah, stuff about your racist friend. But I mean, genuinely, I listened to some of that in preparation for this. It's so fun how they like did an alphabet of just countries' names. They talked about like just like a weird mnemonic devices when going through the alphabet about like which letter's the hungriest and what foods they like. They don't know how to stop themselves. They're just music machines. And so they clearly encouraged so many people to go follow those weird passions, write your weird songs, do your like tracks with just a drum machine, just whatever you have at hand, make that music and have fun and explore. They're such a shining example of that, in my opinion. And the fact that while they are award winning, yes, they went on to win awards for some of their stuff. They were still very underground for a while too, and it did a huge,
still that way in a lot of ways.
Like
to this day,
that's kind of the point of this whole show. Again, it's a yet another whatever iteration of the Steely Dan effect, as I'm just going to start calling it. Of you didn't know how much you knew about them or how much you'd heard them until I helped pry your eyelids open, but gently. And
our favorite kind of subject.
Yeah, it's nice. I'll put drops in for you. It's going to be fine.
The breadcrumbs have been left.
But yeah, they clearly like their legacy is seen in so many things in my opinion, and just the fact that they like they were digital artists that still dabbled with real instrumentation. It's just two dudes that always stayed true to themselves. Like they clearly never gave in to like any kind of label demands. They did what they wanted to do because they knew what they wanted to do and then what would work. And I think that Flood solidified that for them. I think that they had already gotten a big out label's attention. And then once they got it, they were like, we're not going anywhere. With all that being said, it's definitely time to tie. We are not doing what they would have done. They Might Be Giants would have had a concise, like probably 5 podcasts that were each about 8 minutes. That's not what we're doing. We're doing apparently one long one because I can't shut up ever. So
we have tried to do shorter shows for the record.
We talk about it every time, and I can't.
We try to do shorter shows, and we just
I'm not capable.
It always comes.
I've got a lot of opinions and feelings.
It always kind of turns into an hour, so we were just like, you know what?
We have
just
a good time.
let us be ourselves, just like They Might Be Giants.
Guys, get off my back, God. But so let's do what we always do and tie a bow on this beat. But it's this time, Novo, you got to tell everybody, why should they listen to Flood? What is it that makes this album so daggum listenable?
Flood is a testament that they are truly no bad ideas. When you're in a band or you're an artist and you have this crazy, eccentric, off-the-wall idea in the back of your mind that you want to bring to the table, Flood is such a testament that put that idea on the table. There's no bad ideas. The sky really is the limit. And musically speaking, my God, this just runs the gambit of everything and anything that you would want to put into something that was diverse and innovative and creative, and wanting just to literally flood everything you can think of to put on one album. And these gentlemen somehow did it, and did it so effortlessly, so flawlessly. And I'm almost a little jealous on how I know it's so hard to really write like this. We talk about this all the time, that we kind of tease top 40 hits, that yes, there is a formula to a lot of great songwriting, but great songwriting is still really hard, even when there is a formula and a blueprint and a foundation that you can build off of. And hearing something like Flood is, again, I'm going to use the word testament to, man, they make
biblical on us.
Really
testament to Flood.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Moses' flood. That they, they make really hard songwriting sound easy and so digestible and
And
so
fun.
fun, and it's sing along a bull and you and re-listen a bull. And these are the kind of guys that, in our backstage conversations, me and Philip, we'll talk about kind of the inspirations for why we sometimes write some of these shows. And he made an excellent point of saying, someone like Frank Zappa walked so these guys could run. And now these guys are running so that we now can sprint. Like, it's guys like this that inspire us to even write shows like this when we thought like, oh, is it a dumb idea or a bad idea to have a show dedicated to these things, or write novels dedicated to these things, or own musical adventures dedicated to these things? It's guys like They Might Be Giants and albums like Flood that say, no, try everything. There's no bad ideas. Put it on the table, see what happens, and just try to evolve with the times and try to find your own voice and own legacy and see what happens.
As a little just chef's kiss to what you said, they are a confident optimism that I love and sometimes I really need in my life. That there are times for sad songs, there's times for hardcore songs, whatever. I like knowing that you never know what you're going to find when you open up your letterbox tomorrow. It could be good, could be great stuff, and that you should trust yourself. So thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to They Might Be Giants. Thank you, John and John. Again, you know in which order I addressed you
Huge
because
fans of
that's
the
where
show.
we are with our bond.
John and John.
I obviously want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank Zencastr, and very much want to thank my guest. The first time I've ever had this guest on the show.
Nova Day
Novo Day.
Man. Nova Day Man.
Yeah.
Here on the other side, Nova Day Man.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. Thanks to that whole list of people. We have some little bit of extra, little bit of something fun to share with you. Things that really just made another impact on us recently. Some gems of the week for you. But before we talk gems, guys, let's get one last word in from those sponsors. Art of the Beholder is brought to you by Zencastr. Zencastr is our go-to tool for remote podcast recordings. What's great is that you can record separate audio and video tracks, and it's all backed up on a secured cloud, so you never lose your hard work. Even better, it's easy to use, and there's nothing to download. So go to zencastr.com, zencastr.com, and use promo code Art of the Beholder to get 30% off your first 3 months with a pro account. We're back and onto the gems. I have sort of like a couple of touch points. I have multiple, so that I'm not going to spend much time on any one of them. Novo, I will let you go first as the guest.
Oh, thank you. Well, guys, it's been a while, so I actually have a quick gem roundup for you. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on each of these. I'm just going to give you the hits, and I want you to check it out. So that includes the new season of Severance, excellent. The film Anora, love it.
Spell that.
Anora,
Anora.
Ora.
Okay.
Yeah. The Last of Us, season 2. New film Sinners, the new season of Black Mirror, and an album, an oldie but a goodie, an album that for the life of me, it's a weird reason why I got back into this album, but I kind of like They Might Be Giants. I probably this is a good ending. They Might Be Giants, and definitely this album Flood is surprisingly rich harmonies. I re-listened to my favorite Aerosmith album, and that's an album that is just called Rocks. Aerosmith Rocks.
Mine, I have 2 movies, and if you want to go ahead and place your bets on if they're horror movies now, please do, because they are.
All of my money, all in, all in.
I saw Late Night with the Devil as well as Heretic, both fantastic in their own ways. And so really check those out. Super rad. Excellent performance by Hugh Grant in Heretic, and David Dastmalchian in Late Night with the Devil. I love what he's done with his career. So 2 good movies. If you like horrors, check those out. I vouch for them. And my other is a band. I discovered an Australian progressive metal trio called the Omnific. And what's neat is that it's 2 bassists and a drummer.
Interesting.
And the reason 2 bassists works is because these dudes are better at the bass than most of us are at guitar. It's insane. They're really, really talented, and there is a specific song on their most recent album. It is a song called Matrices. It gives me stank face every time. I can't not stop, groove out.
Oh, I love it.
Oh my God, everybody, if the idea of really tight technical bass with incredibly impressive double bass pedal drums, like basically again prog metal with 2 basses, no lyrics, again just instrumental, Omnific, but specifically look up the song Matrices. That song changed my life.
I will. You sold me.
There are the gems. So lastly, thank you so much. Obviously, those of you listening to us know where you found us here, but you probably want to know where else you can find out all the fun things that we talk about. That is our various social medias, which is going to be @_Novo_day, DE, @AOTB.podcast, and @AOTB podcast. So there's one with a dot and one without. That is how you find more of this show. For me, you can find philipchurch.com. That should link you to my socials where I really don't do anything. But more importantly, it's got my demos.
It's hard. We're busy.
It's got samples of the audiobooks
Marketing's
that I've done.
Hard.
It sucks. It's a job, and I already got 2 of them.
It's a job.
And so, yeah, philipchurch.com is the best place you can find me. But yeah, please subscribe. Please like. Please listen. Please watch. Please thumbs up. Drop us comments. I would love to discuss and or find new hills to die on. I love an argument. I should have been a lawyer, but unfortunately, I do software.
We'll read your shade on
audiobooks and podcasts
on future shows too.
Well, I'll start dedicating shade episodes, guys. I'm going to make it work for us. Do your worst. And then lastly, if you want to sponsor, if you loved it and rated and reviewed and have some kind of neat sponsorship, reach out to us. It's novodayproductions@gmail.com. That's it. Thank you so much. Until next time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Be good to each other. And as always, good luck. Godspeed. We love you. Art of the Beholder is brought to you by Novo Day Productions. Created by Novo Day and Theodore T. Buckingham. Written, directed, produced, and edited by Novo Day and the NDP Collective. Starring Philip Church of philipchurch.com. That's Philip with 1 L. Alexandra Parsons of alexandraparsons.com. ALEXANDRA-PARSONS.com. With special contributions by Theodore T. Buckingham. Music by A Company, Instagram handle A_CO_music_. Logo design by Tom Justice of thejusticecompany.com, JESTUS. Thank you again for listening. All rights reserved. Are you ready to elevate your style and make a lasting impression in fashion? Ready for change? To find the best you? Whether it's creating stunning designs or crafting the perfect wardrobe, AP Design is here to transform your vision into reality. From everything from sustainable goods to personal consulting, Alexandra Parsons of AP Design aims to bring innovation and elegance to your every project. So let her help you stand out with ideas that are bold, timeless, and uniquely yours. To get started, you can go straight to her shop with the link below in the show notes, or you can book a consultation at alexandra-parsons.com and let your new life start today. That's Alexandra, ALEXANDRA-Parsons, PARSONS.com. Because great design isn't just seen, it's felt.